IVM.
Hey everyone, welcome to Shunya One, episode 169. Amit, I love your background. Are you on a Star Wars movie set?
Dude, you didn't see the pictures of yourself over here? I saw like the gangster
I
Instagram
didn't
posts
see
that these
I
guys
didn't see
did.
the lights all fancy.
But no, this was all there when you came. They didn't
Well, it
turn it
was
on?
no. They showed me
Oh,
like the
okay.
fully illuminated setup where you could see all my own warts and all. So
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
this is
Next time
like
you're here, we'll get you into this kind of into the backlit room, I guess. Yeah,
exactly. This is very
but
very cool. I love it.
yeah, no,
I
no, it
have to
is.
do more studio
Again,
recordings.
we've had great luck with the design on the studio and stuff like that, so I'm quite happy with it too. But hey,
Good
great
stuff.
conversation we got coming up.
Absolutely. Today was amazing. I think we have the co-founders of a very cool brand called Juicy Chemistry.
Hmm.
It's a top of the line cosmetics product. I'm sure it's in line with our continuing our D2C stories and very, very similar sort of origins in terms of why the two
Hmm.
co-founders here, who knew each other from childhood. So that's Pritesh and Megha. Both of them have the reason why they built this brand. So
Hmm.
yes, there's a lot to unpack. It's a very sciencey episode, I
Yeah.
think, goes with the name of the brand
Yes, it does.
itself. So
There
I'm
was a lot
sure
of
chemistry
scientific
nerds will
discussion
love
there.
it.
I got lost for a second in the middle over there. There was a lot of science you guys were talking.
Yeah, I think
Hey, hey,
I was just relearning a lot of my old school chemistry, but yes, this is really great. So we're talking to Pritesh Asher and Megha Asher. So let's go in and speak to them about the story of juicy chemistry.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Storytellers and Storytellers, Vineet talks to acclaimed filmmaker Nikhil Advani about his latest web series, Rocket Boys. On Pesa Vesa, Anupam talks to Nitin Gupta, founder and CEO at Uni, about their new Pay One Third card. On Raw and Organics, Sweta Subaya, founder of Sweat, bursts some pretty pervasive myths around fitness for women with Kunal. The Simplified hosts deconstruct all there is to artificial intelligence with AI practitioners Karthik and Shivam. And on all things policy, the Takshashila folk discuss evolving notions of warfare with the advent of digital technologies. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our others for that matter, please do tell a friend. Don't forget to rate us on any other platforms that you're listening to us, whether it's a rating, whether it's a review, it all helps. And do remember to check us out on YouTube. We have a number of channels. They're available on ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. And finally, I would like to thank our sponsors this week, Bank of Baroda, CoinSwitch, Kuber, and HDFC Life Insurance. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Hi Mega, hi Pritesh, how are you guys doing? Welcome to Shunya One.
Hey
Hi,
guys,
thank you so much
thanks
for
for
having
having.
us.
No, it's great to have you both here, and thank you so much for joining all the way from Coimbatore, I believe.
That's correct.
Absolutely, yes.
That's really amazing. I mean, it's not every day that at least we speak to a lot of founders and companies in India based out of let's say a non-metro city. Although Coimbatore is a great place, but it's amazing that you guys are running the whole show. The entire Juicy Chemistry brand out of there. So I'd love to hear, obviously, your origin story, if you may, and also how, and why Coimbatore happened. So either of you.
Pritesh, you want to take that?
So, firstly, thank you for having both of us on this podcast today. Glad to meet you guys. We are basically a startup based out of Coimbatore, headquartered here in amidst the beautiful setting in Coimbatore. Lovely city, like you said. I am basically from Coimbatore. My father moved down here from the north when he was, starting up in those days as an
Oh
entrepreneur
wow, nice.
himself. And our family business was into manufacturing of petrochemicals. And he moved down here from Kerala because of all the issues that he was facing in terms of the labor, in terms of law. And I think Coimbatore was the next closest city,
Yeah.
bordering Kerala. So this was a very easy move for him into Tamil Nadu, which was also very close to Palakkad. And that's how we started off here. Been living here for the last 35 years or so now. But me
Wow.
and Megha interestingly met in Chinmaya International Residential School. I was already there from my eighth grade. Megha joined in post her 10th grade. And we met as friends in Chinmaya International way back in 2000. Um,
Nice.
that's
Wow.
how we know each other. We went to Australia together for our studies post our international baccalaureate in 2002. Um, Lived together for about 3 4 years. 2009 we got married. Megha is actually from Mumbai. She's a proper Mumbaiite, but now moved down
Many,
here.
many years
Pretty
in
much a South
Coimbatore.
Indian. Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
think
That's on. Yeah, and it's also awesome that you guys are. I mean, obviously, you guys know each other from way, way back.
yeah.
Did you guys always know that you would start up something like this? I mean, Pritesh, you were from a family business. Is that what you always wanted to do? And how did probably Juicy Chemistry, the brand, come to be? And including how the name, because that's a very cool name.
Yeah.
Megha will tell you the story about the brand name, but I was always inclined towards my family business earlier. Unfortunately, my father wasn't keeping really well, during my college days, and I had to come back to take care of and help the organization at the age of 24, 25 back then. Unfortunately, it was a very unorganized sort of a sector, and in 6 months, it was already a sinking ship with my father not being able to take over the day-to-day responsibilities of the organization. We had a setback in from 2008 to 2012 when wheels sort of stopped moving in motion, and I
Mhm.
think we had to take a very difficult call of exiting the business somewhere around in 2010. It took us a couple of years to actually come out of it, but honestly, um, it was one of the best decisions that Megha helped me take as an entrepreneur, because she was able to look at it from the outsider's perspective, and she said, "Listen, you're always stressed. You're always not in your rhythm. I think you need to sort of look at this at from a third person's perspective and think about your future. What do you want to do in the next 5 years?" And I think that question sort of helped us to realize that I think the more amount of money and time and resources we were putting in, it was not actually culminating into anything productive.
Right.
I think 2012 we took this decision of sort of coming out of the business, out of the family business. But one fine day, actually, I didn't have anything to do. Right, I came out of the business and I was not having anything to do. And Megha was an upcoming entrepreneur in the city. She had her own boutique here. In she loves the fashion industry, and she'd done that in the past. And she worked with Times of India as well as a journalist. She's actually a criminologist by profession,
Oh, wow.
and a criminal justice systems advocate. She's written a couple.
That
She's
is a big
co-authored a
leap,
couple of books.
but amazing.
Yeah, she's co-authored a couple of books on Indian prisons, etc. So there's a joke that that was the first culprit that she found, and that continues to be so. But that's what the
It's a very
origin.
long case study, Pritesh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll write a book on it sometime in the future, hopefully. But that's how Megha started entrepreneurial journey in Coimbatore, and
Nice.
we were always looking to do something, itch the entrepreneurial bug always. Our first initial thought was to go back to Australia because we were very comfortable with that location. We had a setup there, but
Right.
Juicy Chemistry actually happened to us. We didn't happen to Juicy Chemistry actually. Megha can probably narrate that story better.
Yeah. So, like Pritesh said, I was running the clothing business quite well, and that was, of course, something that stemmed out of a need. I wasn't really getting the kind of work I wanted to do in terms of criminology or journalism. I did some stints and research papers, but it doesn't put
Yeah.
food on the table. It's all voluntary, and it's just work that you do more as an academic. So There were times where we had to take that difficult decision. But I had always struggled from PCOS, and done a lot of treatments before I shifted to Coimbatore. And because of all the financial stress that we were going through at that point, of course, going to a dermat and doing those weekly treatments were not making any sense. So I started looking out for some natural alternatives, thinking, let me just opt for something that will just help me with day-to-day maintenance of my skin without having to go for regular facials and cleanups and peels and whatever the doctor recommends. But so we were just doing our normal grocery shopping, because we've always done that together. Back in Australia also, we used to do it together. So even in Coimbatore, it followed, where Sundays became like a chore, doing all your daily
Yeah.
chores kind of thing. So, and somebody just came to Pritesh saying, it's a new launch. And I said, wow, this looks interesting. It looks really beautiful with the packaging. And Pritesh just accidentally turned the box, right? He just turned it around and he said, there's propylene glycol. What is this doing in the product? And I'm like, what do you know about all these ingredients? And he's like, do you forget what I used to do, And he said, even if it's processed, the fact that we use this in radiator cleaning fluid, I'm not sure why it's in skincare. I mean, we are looking
Yeah.
at it from a consumer point of view, right? It's not like we are cosmetic chemists or we know what's going into the product. But then he spotted a couple of more ingredients and said, I don't know how natural this product is. I mean, it's not worth, putting this onto your skin. And I said, okay. And I said, okay, let me try a baby care product. I mean, sure, they're made for sensitive skin, I mean, I might just get
Right.
something good of it. Again, the same ingredients lurking in the product. And so we just started talking to friends and family and asking them that, hey, are you aware, what brand do you use? And it literally, because I come from the research
Mm.
background, for me, it just was like, okay, let me start Googling on these things. And once I started doing it, I said, okay, this is interesting. There's like a plethora of ingredients in my skincare, which I didn't know about. And then I said, but why has no brand managed to do this? I mean, we talk about Ayurveda, and then, of course, you have your basic use multani mitti. I just use of basin, but don't use these products. You know how parents
Right.
normally tell you, and
Right.
like I've had my grandmother tell me this for years. So once we started deep diving into the understanding of what's going into a product, Pritesh managed to figure out the culprit in the product at that point. From the point of view of what we were trying to achieve, he saw there was water in all the products, right? The first ingredient in every product said aqua.
Right.
And so today, waterless products are a big trend, but we started it about 8 years back by understanding that,
Amazing.
okay, if I eliminate water from the formulation, I can actually eliminate the need for, the stabilizer, additive, preservative, emulsifier, and the entire, list of ingredients that I didn't want in my product line, right? And we've always maintained that there's no wrong or right, but if I wanted to actually promise a customer that I'm giving you a pure organic product, I actually want it to be organic. I don't want it to be a natural product packaged with safer alternatives and then promoted as an organic product. So we literally started off with 5,000 rupees from the other business, and we took it out because we didn't have any money at that point, considering he had to shut down his family business. We started experimenting from our kitchen. We stood at farmers markets almost every weekend. And it was a novel thing for everybody because nobody had seen products like this. The textures were different, the feel of the product was different, the way they smelt was much different to what you see commercially. And that's how Juicy Chemistry was born. We didn't know how to name it, and it again was an accident, right? Pritesh was making a soap in the kitchen, and he thought, I'm going to add these, fabulous orange juice. It's going to give me the sunshine orange color soap. What we see in the market, you literally think when they
Yeah.
say it's orange, it's literally orange, right? So we tried it, and of course the soap didn't react well to it, and it just became this big brown mush. It was disgusting. And I
Yeah.
walked in and I said, look what the juice, look what happened to the juices. I'm like, and he's always been very cool with coming up with names. And he just put the two things together and said, what do you think of Juicy Chemistry? I mean, like, look at the juice. And I mean, there's some chemistry going on over here,
Of
just
course.
seeing
Of
the way it
course.
was bubbling, and it was just such a mess. So I think the minute he said it, it instantly connected, because you relate to chemistry to a lot more things than just science, right? Like there's
Right.
chemistry love and there's chemistry in a relationship. So I said, okay, this makes a lot of sense. And
Awesome.
so we
Yeah.
spoke about it to family, friends, and everybody said it's a brilliant name. It's not the cliched Ayurvedic name or a cliched herbal name. So go for it. And that's how the name actually got coined. And I think it took us a year before we had our own website, our own anything. But yeah, the first year was the most exciting one with trying out all these things. So,
and and with a lot of legit chemistry from the sound of it, because it's
absolutely.
not that you guys just took something which was already state of the art, or you didn't build upon what was already there and just rebrand and do
Yeah.
cosmetic changes, so to speak. You really went all the way down to the base layer, like remove
Yes,
water
I
is
tell this, yeah, I tell this to everybody. I mean, we've done the bartan, we've done the cleaning, we've gone deep dive into understanding every single formulation and literally come from the ground up. It was not like,
right.
okay, I've seen a product in the market, let me just replicate it, go to a white label manufacturer and tell him,
Correct.
just make this for me and I'll buy thousands of them. We didn't go down that route. So the understanding we had with every single formulation and ingredient was quite unique, and that's helped us in the long run.
Interesting.
Amazing.
If I could ask, right? I mean, like one of the points of commonality I'm seeing, right? I mean, like with the various D2C brands who we've spoken to in the last couple of weeks, right? Is that the first thing that they're identifying, right, is a quality gap, right? Like that there is a this, right? And I think that that's true whether we look at so the few folks we have spoken to, right? We spoke to the Whole Truth Foods, we spoke to Blue Tokai, we spoke to Neiman's, the shoe brand, and like in all a sold store. In all of these cases, it's a quality gap that they were filling, and in your case, it feels like that seems to be a common thing as well, right? That the quality of what's existing in the market at this point in time is substandard compared to what you think can be delivered. How do you balance that with the challenges as you go ahead with scaling, right? Because again, I think that the quality versus scale issue becomes something that is a challenge, and in the cosmetic space, like you do need to, like for it to be a big brand, it means you need to get much larger, right? So I mean, like how do you look at these two things and how they play off against each other?
I think that's a
Was
very
that even a
valid.
consideration at the start? Like, given that your manufacturing background would have immediately sort of hit you saying this can't be mass manufactured, maybe, or maybe you didn't know how at the start.
Honestly, when we started off, we didn't know, or actually deep dived into the whole subject at the beginning. At the beginning stage, we were looking to address this problem statement, right? Is it possible to create a personal care product which will be sans toxins, chemicals, or greenwashing, if I may put it in the larger sense of it, and not terming chemicals in its totality. It's just basically the communication that the brands were giving out through their advertising or their package or their product or the label came off very green and clean. But when I looked at the back of the ingredients, that was not the case. And this was the case product after product after product, right? It was not communicating a clear message to the consumer as to if this product is actually as green as it sounds to be. And since we realized that it's actually not, our problem statement was, if I tell a consumer that I'm giving a product which is so green and clean, is it possible to actually give one to the consumer without having to subtitle it, have it in PS or have it in small notes somewhere that consumer can't read it. For us, that clarity was very important because we were looking to find the product for ourselves, for our family, and
Right.
our loved ones. So when that didn't happen for us, we saw a clear gap in the market. Now the quality issue actually came up once I started doing a lot of research on the subject itself. So for us, it was important to go down to the soil where the ingredients were getting manufactured, right?
Wow.
Ingredients are getting manufactured from the soil up.
Right.
For us, it was not the lab where we went to the soil, because when I've called the product to have neem, argan, bringraj, arita, right? That product quality needs to be um, promised
What
to
is
me
farmed?
in a certain
Yeah.
Yeah.
sense for the product to actually work. So I always say this at Juicy Chemistry. we let nature do its job, right? We just take credit for all the formulations. We don't actually manufacture, we don't create magic in our products, right? It's already there. We just know how to take it and give it to you. On the time of application, the nutrients, the vital essential plant matter that needs to be there in the product is there, and hence it works. So for us, it was important to understand quality at the very soil level, and hence this is one very important question that one of the consumers back in the day asked us. Listen, there are so many products there that are there in the market claiming to be natural and organic. How are you very different from that? Right? Although we were doing something differently, we were not able to communicate that very well to the consumer. And that's when we stumbled upon the fact that, listen, if the manufacturer is not going to be promising me a good quality ingredient that I need to work with, how am I going to transfer that into quality? Because what I'm looking to get from that ingredient is actually not there, right? I'm looking at omega 3, 3, 6, 9. I'm looking at non comedogenic properties. I'm looking at properties which will heal and soothe the skin. But if that is a subpar quality that I'm getting from my manufacturer, how do I actually translate that to the to efficacy when the consumer is actually working or trying to apply that product? And hence we stumbled upon an EcoCert certification, and we are India's first and only certified organic skin and personal care brand with over 100 products and certification from EcoCert
Wow.
France. Now, what this actually led us to do is not just have complete control of the supply chain from the ground up, from the soil, from where the farmer was actually planting these seeds. They needed to be GMO. The plant needed to be, the soil needed to be clear of any sort of pesticides, insecticides, fungicides, any sort of artificial chemicals to boost
Mhm.
growth, or keep the crop away from insects, or any sort of other calamities to happen.
Wow.
The soil itself needed to be primed for organic growth. But once the ingredient was grown there, once the produce was grown there, and how the farmer actually processed these ingredients was all documented for me, right? I could go back to the books, and I can go and understand from the batch number or from a transfer certificate that this is where the crop was grown, this is how it was handled, and this is how it reached my manufacturing facility, and I could trace it back to the soil and the processes that were actually taken, steps that were taken to process the ingredient the way we wanted it to be processed. And hence, once we were able to get that produce in its perfectly untouched intervention from the humans, we knew that the produce that was created by the nature had the potency which we wanted to transfer to the consumer. Obviously, we had a lot of checks and checkpoints and tests within house, but that actually led to quality being the prime focus
Yeah.
for us to impart efficacy. And that's how we looked at our certification, just as a means to an end for us to give a product which was completely a superior quality than anything else that was there in the market. And trust, traceability, and transparency became three pillars of juicy chemistry, and that's why we continue to enjoy the kind of patronage we do with our consumers. To answer your question specifically on scalability, I think that is definitely something that we as entrepreneurs always are looking to solve that
Yeah.
problem, right? But I think what happens is, once you achieve a large enough scale, or when economies of scale start to kick in, you will start having a little bit more power in terms of negotiating with your suppliers. You are able to forecast a little better. You're able to understand supply chain for a larger period of time. And I think that really bubbles down to managing costs. For us at Juicy Chemistry, it always has been quality first, and for us the aim is to get organic and natural skincare in its totality to as many consumers as possible. And hence, for us, the price point is also as important. And you will see
Right.
that our price points, you will see that although we are organic and completely potent in terms of delivery, we've also priced our products to be reachable to as many people as possible, to make a difference in their lives. That's the goal
Wow.
that we are working with.
That's actually, I mean, commendable. Let me say first of all, because and I'm sure it all didn't happen on day one. I mean, the journey and the rigor you guys put into it over the years clearly has shown its outcomes, and its congratulations on on that. But all of these things which you just explained are actually like multiple challenges and problems of everyone. I mean, every manufacturing sort of based brand, right? And you said you've not compromised on anything, you know
Yeah.
uh, at any, even on your supply chain, on your quality, obviously, on your the ethos of the brand. So that being able to not have zero any, even the convenient compromises, as well as meeting, let's say, your price goal for mass market, is really hard. It sounds like there's some magic you guys have stumbled upon. So uh,
No,
uh,
actually, it's not magic. What happens is, I think price is so subjective, right? If some people find it really expensive, some people do find it reasonable. Uh, the biggest struggle that we saw was the knowledge transfer we had to do with consumers, because there was so much of greenwashing already existing in the
right.
market.
Hmm.
When you talk about quality, it's not just about, like we said, it's about understanding that an ingredient can do the job. Like a humble rose water can actually do a lot good, but the market presence of a rose water, we already had a global favorite
Hmm,
in India, right? Like a very big household company that was selling gulab gel all throughout, but nobody bothered to read what the ingredients were.
Hmm.
good question.
When you
Yeah.
read the ingredients, that's when you realize the difference in the quality, right? So I'm not saying it's a subpar product, but the fact that you're calling it rose water, but it only has about 5% rose water, balance 95 is all of the other things, then that's the issue that we are seeing. That lag in the market was people didn't know how to read their ingredients. Like if you talk about a almond oil, you see ads, but 70% of that product has mineral oil. It is not almond oil. I mean, I'd be more than happy if the brand had put in front, that mineral oil, almond oil, preservative. I mean, that's what we wanted to do in the market. The kind of
Right.
transparency and the kind of honesty we wanted to bring. And in fact, I think we were one of the first brands 8 years back to do complete ingredient listing. No other brand was doing it. It of course opened doors to people copying us very quickly, because we listed
Right.
out every single ingredient we were using. And in our case, most of it was just a blend of oils, a blend of salt and sugar scrubs, which was not heard of in the Indian market. So it opened a lot of room. But that's when we had to go for EcoCert. And believe you me, when Pritesh was making these calls to the suppliers, we had to, most of them dropped off. They said, we are sorry, we don't get that price for our ingredients, so we'll not go for a certification. He had to rebuild the entire supply chain at that point.
Oh, man.
So that's, I think that's the gap. I feel like if you really want to be a strong, honest brand, it's important to speak your mind and show the ingredients the way they're meant to. I mean, we've done clinical study on our Bulgarian rose water, and it's phenomenal to know that a humble rose water can give you skin brightening by XYZ percentage, right? It's a proper lab testing done on humans, and it shows you these kind of results. So if people start having faith in ingredients and work towards quality ingredients, this is the outcome, is what we at Juicy Chemistry were trying to do and have been doing all these years.
Brilliant. There's so much I want to unpack in this, but before we go down this mind-boggling journey a little bit more, let's take a quick break and come back and hear more about this story.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Storytellers and Storytellers, Vineet talks to acclaimed filmmaker Nikhil Advani about his latest web series, Rocket Boys. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam talks to Nitin Gupta, founder and CEO at Uni, about their new Pay One-Third card. On Ryan Organics, Sweta Subaya, founder of Sweat, bursts some pretty pervasive myths around fitness for women with Kunal. The Simplified hosts deconstruct all there is to artificial intelligence with AI practitioners Karthik and Shivam. And on All Things Policy, the Takshashila folk discuss evolving notions of warfare with the advent of digital technologies. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our others for that matter, please do tell a friend. Don't forget to rate us on any other platforms that you're listening to us, whether it's a rating, whether it's a review, it all helps. And do remember to check us out on YouTube. We have a number of channels. They're available on ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. And finally, I would like to thank our sponsors this week, Bank of Baroda, CoinSwitch, Kuber, and HDFC Life Insurance. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. We are getting a little deeper into the whole juicy chemistry of this brand and obviously what it stands for. But you know, Megha and Pritesh, you guys said something earlier which is really interesting to me, that you've created a lot of novel processes for your supply chain. You've created a lot. Obviously, there's a certification which is so unique to you guys and especially other brands in India. But even before that, at the bare bones, you mentioned that the whole concept of a waterless uh, component is something that was the first, things you guys did the first, and now of course it's more prevalent. What is that really? I mean, who can you usually think of everything being water based, right, in some way or form? uh, how unique is that, and how did that change the dynamics of your of your product fundamentally?
So I want to correct that. Like when I say first, I mean like we started it 8 years back. I don't know if there was any brand doing it. I don't
Uh-huh.
think there was, but today it's become a very big trend, right? Like when we launched it,
Right.
it was a very novel concept. Today people have gotten used to it. Like when we introduced a facial oil, it was a very novel concept. Nobody had heard about using oil for your face, right? Like everybody thought,
Mm,
yuck, I'm not going to put an oil on my face. And I'm like, how do you think your moisturizer is made? It's got a blend of oil and butter, and then that's emulsified with water and other ingredients, and that's how your cream is made. So we are trying to eliminate all of that and give you a facial oil that's going to do a lot good to your skin. So that was a whole concept when we started. We understood that a pure facial oil, like oil, not like your coconut, because we could understand that a coconut can cause acne. Because, like I said, for everything we did a lot of research. I think we
right.
did about 10, 12, like almost 14 months of research before we did our first product also.
And
Because
this was
it
like research, clinical research, because again, to bring something to market, you actually had to go to like do consumer testing also, I'm guessing, like before you get your certifications. Is Was that also part of the thing?
So initially we did a lot of trials, like Megha was mentioning earlier. We stood behind 500 rupee marketplace stalls that used to come to the city. We got a lot of first-hand feedback on the products that we were making. But yes, like you're right, every product needs to go through a very rigorous testing. When only then it is actually suitable to get to market, right? So there is a huge a huge list of things that need to go by in terms of stability of the product, safety of the product, dermatologically dermatology approvals, and then of course you need your drug and cosmetic license as well to
Right.
scale the products into the market. So we did all that, but the testing was, we'll get to how we started testing the products. Obviously we were making it from our home kitchen, but we had a long way to go before we could get it out into the market. But we had a nice test batch because like we said, Megha was into clothing and jewelry business
Right.
earlier. She ran a boutique, so she used to get a lot of customers coming home
Aha.
to speak
Yeah.
to her, to get the ideas behind the dressing sense, and she used to create those wardrobes for them. So they used to sit and spend a couple of hours with her to get their wardrobe remade, or for some occasion or anything like that. So when we were actually creating these products, we used to give them samples to test it out initially. So
Nice.
we had a very good cohort that we could test
Correct.
our batches on, and I think that gave us a lot of confidence because we were actually correcting our products before we could get it out into the market. Right? We got a lot of feedback. We understood that there are some pain points. Although the product is great, but then the usability is an issue, or maybe sensorily it could be a little different. So we were picking up on these very fine touch points,
Right.
and that obviously kept increasing our confidence in terms of go to market. And once we had that product market fit, that's when we decided to get into the larger production manufacturing processes, etc.
all the testing and everything. So today, all the products are dermatologically tested for safety and irritation. They go through proper stability testing, because the products only have a 6 month shelf life. They don't have a long shelf life like 2 or 3 years.
I was gonna
So
ask about that. Yeah.
yeah, they go through stringent preservative challenge test every product of ours. We have labs, of course, in house as well right now, because that's a requirement with the licenses as well. So every product goes through that process. Same with the ingredients. So for us, that's why it's like Pritesh said. For us, scaling happens, but we have to be really smart with the way we tackle it, because a lot of ingredients, like, we believe in sourcing from the source. We don't, like, a tea tree doesn't grow in India. So if I have to sell a tea tree oil, or I have to use a product that's made with tea tree, I'm going to get it from Australia. So for me, that process needs to be well planned. We have to
Okay.
plan our consignments, we have to plan our containers. We cannot just go like, okay, I'm going to airlift tea tree oil and it's going to fit into my margins. It won't work like that. So the idea has been very clear. Like I said, the nutrient profile of the ingredient, it'll only be intact when it grows in its natural habitat. If you're going to change that surrounding, you're going to try to fix it or buy it through a middleman. We don't know the adulteration process. And so these kind of ingredients, especially when they're going on your skin, it's very important that you know that the sourcing is done right. So that all plays a very important role in the way the scaling process is planned at Juicy. And that's why for us, it was never like we could explode into the market and just, spend money on it and just market it. The idea was to be sensible about how we can do it, because the harvest also has a particular shelf life, right? Like it has its seasons. Like I remember when we were at Biofark in Germany, and we was talking to our suppliers for lavender, and they said, this year it's rained like there was unpredictable rains and the entire harvest is spoiled.
Yeah.
So it's not like I can change that supply in my EcoCert certification and just go and move to another supply and just say, okay, whatever you have, even if it's not in certification, let me just buy it. So there were times where during the pandemic, especially, we did struggle, because sometimes the products had to go out of stock. Like a marula oil comes from Africa, it doesn't
Yeah.
grow in India. So if I had to get it from Africa and if the product is not in stock during that process where there was peak lockdown, shipments were not happening, we did lose a couple of months. So now we are like preparing to do a better planning in terms of how we can stock these ingredients, what the actual shelf life can be, and so on.
Uh,
So
to
Wow,
answer
it's
that,
like a massive, massive operation, to be honest. I mean, the more I'm hearing about it, obviously, with the non-standard, if I may say that, right? With the non-standard processes and the not the novel stuff you guys are doing, I think that must have been it's a big task to get people to get on board that, even uh, your upstream folks, I'm guessing.
The good part of it is once they come in, they don't really leave the Juicy family very easily. I think that's one of our biggest plus points, because people see through the quality. They try 10 different brands and then they come back saying, no, we can identify yours is the purest of the lot. So I think that's helped us a lot. But like you said, sometimes it is a little demotivating when people don't realize the kind of efforts that go into the processes and the kind of effort we put in to make sure we only get the best, because that's what the brand stands on, right? It's not like I can just suddenly go and say I'll just source it from XYZ person and just
Yeah.
market it. It's not like that. So yeah.
Yeah, Pritesh, you were saying, I think.
sorry, I was just saying that to be specific on the question of formulations, as to
Yeah.
how we started with a waterless concept. So initially, from mine and Megha's research, we stumbled upon so many different aspects of skin. Right, it was actually understanding how the skin works, the layers of skin,
Yes.
penetration, products that can be safe, formulation, reverse engineering, if I may put it in the right sense of it. Um, when we started doing that, it was a process of elimination for us, right? How do I eliminate products that they don't need to be there? For example, how do I eliminate a preservative, right? The concept was everything that goes onto the skin eventually gets absorbed into your bloodstream. So why put anything that you won't eat
Harmful. Yeah.
from your food table, right, from your pantry, because your skin recognizes nutrition. And what if we just give nutrition to it and sort of try and avoid anything else that doesn't need to be there? So when we started the process of elimination, we stumbled upon one single ingredient that was a cause of everything else being there in it, and that was water. right? And the
Right.
water in the formulation is used for many things, right? It's used to emulsify water and oils. It is used to make the product lighter. Its preservatives added to elongate the shelf life to 36 months, maybe even more, depending on what you use in the product. Sulfates are used for better lathering and feel good factor on sensorily perceptions of it. Lathering better is equal to even cleansing better. So there were a lot of things added to different products, like mineral oil getting added to a hair oil used as a filler to reduce the cost of the product, and so on and so forth, right? So there were many things that were going on, and they were added for different reasons into a product. For us, it was important to understand how do you give a product which is what it claims to be. So if you look at our product ingredient list, we are close to 100% organic in every single product that we retail into the market. When we say 100% organic, is there is a traceability of that ingredient back to soil,
Hmm.
at every single individual ingredient level, right? I can
Yeah.
pick an ingredient from my inky list, and I can have a paperwork that takes you back to the soil where it was actually manufactured, was
Wow.
where it actually
Wow. Yeah.
was produced. The reason why we wanted to leave water out from the formulation was we didn't see the need for it, because we didn't want to have a very large shelf life in the
Hmm.
product, right? Think about how you put food on the plate. You want to have food that's fresh, produce, which is directly from the farms. You want to have the nutrients coming out of it. And even we actually looked at formulations just like cooking, right? If I
Hmm.
cook a
Yeah.
product too much, I'm actually draining out those nutrients into the
Correct.
wash basin or into the dustbin, and it doesn't actually reach me. The product might have
Correct.
fiber, or the product might have protein in it, but if I've not handled that ingredient properly, that's actually not coming to me, right? Then it's just
Correct.
a feel good factor that I'm having healthy food. But how much of it is actually getting into your body? That's the question we asked when we were starting to do our formulations. And every aspect of our formulation technique actually works in that manner, where we keep it very, very minimal, right? No complex processes in our production line, right? It's the
Okay.
ingredient that will do the job. We just play with the physical and chemical properties of those ingredients to make sure it's more user friendly. That's all we do. we let
So
hard we let the hard work to the nature, and like I said, we just simply take credit for it.
So even at a later stage, when we were asked to do liquid products, right, like a shampoo or a face wash, the formulation was done in the traditional process, the traditional castile soap formulation, where you again don't need to add a lot of things, where your soap is cooked completely, and then you add the water, which again eliminates the requirement for a preservative at that point. That being said, as a brand, we never took down that route where we've been shouting from the top of the roof that, oh, we are giving you toxin free products, right? We That's just not been the kind of ideology we wanted to do, because the idea was very simple. Not every brand can do what we are doing, right? It's a very
Right.
hard thing to do, and scalability comes at a lot of cost, right? You can't just say I'm going to make such pure products, because not everybody is going to like that kind of feel. Also, some people want products that are for more convenient use. So the idea was very simple, that this is what we are doing. We are not telling you that XYZ product is bad in the market, but this is what we believe in, and this is what the
Hmm.
ethos at Juicy Chemistry are all about. Like today, with the market being stormed with actives, right? Like you hear about vitamin C and niacinamide and hyaluronic acid and more. So I don't know, you would have heard about skincare much, but that's the trend right now, right? Everybody wants to try retinol and actives, like acids for their face, right? So you don't have to really go to a doctor. But like in my days, I had to go to a doctor to do a glycolic peel or a alpha hydroxy peel. But today, you get products that let you do it from the comfort of your home. Once again, a lot of products at Juicy were born out of a customer requirement, right? Our consumers
Right.
would tell us, please, can you innovate something? I'm pregnant and I can't use this active, or I'm a teenager and, my skin is flared up and I'm not able to use, oil. And that's when we realized that, yes, while we love making oil based products, it might not suit everybody, right? There are specific
Right.
skin types that could be allergic to an oil as well. Just because it's organic, it doesn't mean it's going to automatically suit. So even when we were talking about actives today, what you see is, again, the formulations will be identical. It'll be a white label, will be very similar to what's already existing in the market. Since the last 3 years, we were actually working on a research project with scientists in Australia, where there are ingredients in their native habitat. Like for example, a cacao plum. When we brought that 7 years back to India, nobody had heard about it. Today, if you type a
Hmm.
cacao plum, you'll see it's all the rage in skincare in India also, right? Like you have your larger brands also using it, but cacao plum has been identified as nature's highest source of vitamin C. It's got
Oh.
more than 50 times the vitamin C of an orange. So through a process called cellular extraction, we managed to extract the ascorbic acid from cacao plum in a solvent mixture, like a matrix of glycerine and water.
Hmm.
So our vitamin C is primarily just 99.5% cacao plum cellular extract. It's ascorbic acid in its purest form, because a vitamin C molecule, whether you create in a lab or whether you source it in this
Get it
format,
from
is
nature, yeah.
it's the same, right? But for us, the goal remained to continue innovating with nature and how we can bring about a piece of nature into our formulation. And the minute we saw the results of this particular ingredient, on everybody's skin, and like because it's a water based product, it does need a preservative. It needs to be stable, it needs to be preserved well. We went ahead and did that right, to make sure that the formulation is perfect for a consumer. It brought us to a point like, okay, we innovate with nature, we try to bring about a change in what we as a brand are doing, where unnecessary ingredients are never added to a product, but also give a consumer the benefit of enjoying the latest technology, latest science that's
Hmm.
possible. Again, this kind of a vitamin C is probably present with one or two companies in the entire world, right? We being one in
Nice.
India, we're the only ones doing it, right? You might not find a dupe for it in the market like we do with all the higher end products. So
Right.
with each of these, we did target solution. Like a pineapple has bromelain, which is a fantastic exfoliating acid. So we extracted that
Yes.
out of pineapple, and that's the serum that we created. So with Juicy, science has always been hand in hand. It's not been like because it's organic, it's going to be kitchen made, it's just going to be a mixture of ingredients. The idea is bringing in scientific processes as opposed to going and creating an ingredient in a lab. There's a huge misconception in the industry that only if an ingredient is cooked in a lab, it's science. But there's a big process behind manufacturing of organic products or reverse engineering a formulation to eliminate and make it market ready for that period. So for us, it might not be possible that we can set up automated machinery and have uh, thousands of products being churned out in a particular amount of time. For us, it would mean we need more manpower, will mean more
Right.
employment. For
Right.
us, the human intervention will be required at every stage. So
Yeah. For the
that
because of the way it's handled, yeah.
exactly. So while there's science to what we do in the processes, the final outcome is very much just distilled nature in a box. It's that's
That's awesome.
simple philosophy. Yeah.
That's great.
No, I mean nature. I mean, like I think you said earlier, Pritesh. Also, nature. You are taking credit for what nature does great.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
we are the ones who wanted to always modify nature to suit what's better
Exactly.
for us. So yeah, you've taken that all the way back. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of science which we just heard. So definitely, putting that all together, then obviously, getting the brand out, getting individual products out over the last 8 years to what you are today, which is the a brand which is recognized and trusted, and all the ideas that you stand for are well understood by your market. uh, Beyond the knowledge gap and this education journey that you said, and of course all the other scaling steps that you guys took, uh, the results of people who have used the brand, who have used your products, I'm sure the results of using a product from your portfolio must have been many times better than using everything else before, right? I mean, that's raised the bar, so to speak. Or would you say that in what people come to expect from cosmetics, especially your line?
Absolutely. I think, like I said earlier, right, we've been at the receiving end of a lot of love from our consumers. I think we have a very high repeat rate, which is
Hmm.
in excess of 67 to 68%
Wow.
of our consumers are returning consumers on our platform. we are faring over 4.5 stars out of 5 stars across 30 or 1,000 reviews just on our own website. And these are all organic. Just like we would like to keep our ingredients very raw and pure. We keep all our communications, all our we are an open book, and that's how we like to
Right.
keep it. And this is the kind of love that we are getting from the consumers, because they are actually benefiting from the ingredients. They are benefiting from our formulations, from our techniques, and I think that's very gratifying for us as founders, because we are able to make a lot of difference in people's lives. We are
Yeah.
helping them address the skin and hair care concerns that they are facing at the very grassroots level of the problem, just by sourcing the best that nature has to provide. And I think this gives us a lot of confidence in venturing out into new segments as well, because that is what like Mega said earlier, right? A lot of our products, I mean, almost every product from our range is inspired by the consumer's demand,
Of
because
course.
they're struggling with something, they're not able to find a solution, and that's where we jump in and science the crap out of it in the best organic way possible, right? So that's what we do good as a brand, and that's what we strive to do even in our upcoming formulations. And would love to throw some light on the kind of new products that Mega and her team have been working on. I think it's a good time to reveal it as well, Mega, because of the podcast has
Yeah,
been.
please. I mean, that was
Yeah.
anyway going to be my, I usually ask after we chat about the story, we say what's next, and obviously your journey has been incredible already. And given that you've been so successful with upholding the ideas throughout, I'm sure you're
Yeah.
always pushing the boundaries of that too. So what is next, please?
So
You know,
I'm
I would
working on two
yeah.
projects. Mega's working on one extensive project. So Mega will speak about that.
Now, I just want to add also to what Pritesh just said. I think what also makes a difference is, we're very humble with the products as well. I feel it's very important to identify and tell your consumer that skincare is subjective. It's not like just because you're using our products, it's going to be a miracle. Like I've always, whenever I've spoken on a live or I've gone public, I've always talked about, say, my dark circles, right? I've talked about genetic issues. I've talked about the fact that no cream, no nothing will treat it. If your screen time is still going to be 10 hours a day, you're going to sleep 6 hours a day and have a poor lifestyle, because you see a lot of that. Like, especially, I'm somebody who's involved, the positive reviews always make us happy, but I'm the one who is always looking at the negative review and trying to fix that, right? So when we
That's
get
just
that,
being a founder.
yeah, I think so. And it just gives me restlessness that why did that person not like the product? And of course, when you grow to a considerable level, you'll see that there will be that 5 or 6% of the audience that you will
Right.
not be able to satisfy, right? It's not possible. But the biggest problem that I've seen is this unrealistic expectations from your products, right? Even if it's nutrition, whether it's your health food segment, any of that, right? It's unrealistic expectations from products, because you'll have to make some lifestyle changes for it to work. And as a brand, that's what we've tried to do. We've tried to give it a very holistic approach, where we try to tell our consumers that what really can you expect of it. You cannot tell me that I've used something for a month and it didn't work, because
Hmm.
go back into thinking how old that problem was. So I think that has set up again as a differentiator, because most brands will, because they are using a lot of additives and support from, chemical based ingredients. The idea is, you'll get 12 weeks, you'll get this result, or 8 weeks, you'll get this result. But
Right.
that number can never be stable. It's like going to a gym for a day and expecting that you're going to lose weight, right? Like, even
Of
after a
course.
month or 6 months, if you stop gymming, you're going to put on that weight back, right? So I think that gap also we are looking to fill now by educating the consumer in that right direction, to not have that unrealistic expectation. And we are launching India's first certified organic color cosmetics. It's going to be called Color Chemistry. So it's going to be a
Wow.
complete range of organic makeup. And basically, for literally people like me who are dummies with makeup, who don't understand color, who don't understand how to use makeup. And there's just a ton of content online which I don't probably relate to or understand. So how to create, very simple day-to-day looks, and just feel good with what you apply without doing any collateral damage to your skin. That's the whole idea with the color
Awesome.
chemistry line we are working on. So it's going to be an
Amazing.
extensive.
Congratulations. We look forward to that.
Thank you
Sounds
so
like a
much.
whole new business, by the way, from a
It does.
We're going back. We're going back to the table and doing this all over again now.
exactly.
I mean, it's just consumers asking us, they're like, since we trust your product, can you do something on the, of course, this is not something we'll be able to manufacture on our own because I think makeup requires a lot more, better understanding of skin tone. And so we've got makeup consultants and we're going to be manufacturing it in Europe. We're not going to be manufacturing it in India because, of course, the certifications are extremely important internationally. We don't see that much in India. So, and we wanted to, again, keep it in line with our current ethos and not shift from that. So yeah.
Of course.
Makes sense.
Of course. Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I obviously ask also like about your the existing brand, and it's whether you guys are going out of the country, whether you're going out of other regions. Again, given the scaling nuances that you have to handle, right? And I think Amit, you had a earlier question around distribution and everything as
So
well.
it was so I mean like that was some part of it, right? I mean like what are you thinking internationally? I see that you have website and I see that you are doing marketplaces as well, but are you looking at retail as a real kind of thing as you go forward? What are your long-term plans when it comes to kind of getting stuff out more?
So currently, predominantly, Juicy Chemistry is a D2C focused brand. We've built online first, but we had aspirations to go offline a couple of years back. That's when the pandemic hit, and then we sort of had to, you know, move away from that thought
Of course.
process and focus on our energies online. But I think now things are getting back to normalcy as well, right? And look, I always believed that there is a huge market that's offline, and I think our penetration online is very small yet. Although pandemic has accelerated that fact, but we are still predominantly offline shoppers in terms of totality of consumers that are shopping offline. And Juicy Chemistry's product line also is a very touch and feel sort of a factor as well, right? You want
Yeah.
sensory perceptions, olfactory, and that sort of helps you also make those critical decisions on what you want to purchase. You also want to talk to a consultant and see, listen, I have this problem. This is what I've been using it, but I've not been getting solutions to it. Can I speak to somebody and get my problems addressed? Right? We saw this. We actually launched a live one-on-one session on our website as well, with a consultation with a skincare expert and a nutritionist, where you'll be able to get answers to your questions. And we saw the conversion rates on that are far superior than consumers, coming to your website and not
Mm.
understanding what to buy, and then it's randomly buying something and not getting satisfied with the product, right? So this was a phenomenal, touch point for us to understand that if we have an offline store, will people be able to understand what they're actually willing to buy? Because we are not a feel good factor, right? We are not just a dry skin hai to cream laga lena to theek ho jayega,
Mm.
right? So dry skin will go
Mm.
away. We are not coming from that school of thought. We are actually more focused and a very niche problem solution approach in terms of our skincare line. And hence, Juicy Chemistry is actually coming up with its first store, first offline, second offline store, which is apart from
Nice.
Coimbatore. We are coming out with our first EBO, which is going to be in Chennai. We look to launch Chennai in about 1 month from now. And of course, replicate that offline store model in major cities where we know that our conversions are better, our consumers are wanting us there, and hence offline is definitely a big part of our growth story that will happen in the next 2 to 3 years from now as well. We are also
Amazing.
looking at store in stores. We are looking at kiosks in different malls,
Pop-ups. Yeah.
pop-ups as well. And we also see a huge opportunity internationally as well. We already have distributors present in about six countries now: Australia,
So you
Nepal,
are
South Africa,
international.
France. Yes,
We've
we
got
already.
on sites, yeah. It's
Yeah.
Yeah. and we
Well,
are
six is a
launching.
start, but I mean, like you got to start somewhere. So I mean, like
Yeah.
yes,
Yes,
that's
six is
No,
already a
good
it's
good.
start.
Yeah.
significant to be honest. It's
Mm.
again, the journey has. I'm sure it's never been an easy journey, right? 8 years is a
Mm.
long, for a internet brand of today. It's actually a long time. But you guys,
That's a lot.
hearing the depth of work that you had to do, I'm sure even that's not enough. And obviously, there's so much more
I
Yeah.
think
to go.
today's D2C environment is completely different than when we started
Yeah,
off. I think
yeah,
the word D2C didn't exist at that time. I think founders as a title was
yeah,
not very
yeah,
fancy at that point. I don't think we heard
Yeah.
about it too much. Funding was very rare phenomena
yeah.
that used to happen, and I think for us, it happened to us, right? We are not from the startup culture as such, very traditional in terms of a family business approach. But then, in 2018, 2019, things started to change very, very drastically, right? And for us, I remember, our seed round that happened. We were still thinking, like, should we go this route, or,
Yeah,
funding? Can we just, keep it bootstrapped? There were so many questions around funding even at that point in time.
yeah, yeah.
But today, in the last 2, 3 years, I think things have changed drastically, and I think India has truly arrived in the startup space. I think it's phenomenal to see what's
Yes.
happening.
Yes. No, no, it most definitely has. Pritesh, Megha, I mean, thank you so much for sharing this story. It was incredible, what's brought you this far, and of course, there's so much more to go. I can only imagine. Uh, as a closing note, do you want to do like a shout out to how people listening to this show can reach you, where to talk to you? I'm guessing it's all on your website, given how transparent a company you obviously say you are. So but yes, if you want to share your LinkedIn or Twitter or anything else, where's the best place to reach you, either of you?
Sure.
LinkedIn is the best place for us to reach both of us. Please do give us a hi on our LinkedIn, Pritesh
Better
and
hygiene.
Megha. Megha pretty much is on her Juicy Chemistry handle as well. Please follow us on Juicy
Okay.
Chemistry handle on Instagram. You will probably be able to chat with Megha directly because she clears out all her DMs before she goes to sleep. That's her everyday.
Wow. Okay. So you're like the first customer support person in that
Absolutely.
sense. Social media
It was
customer
the most
support.
difficult task for me to pass it on to somebody. I mean, there was a time where, my fingers would swell up, but I would just keep typing. And then Pritesh will be like, okay, you need to, I said, I don't trust anybody. What if they mess it up? And what if they don't talk properly to a customer? And, I'd seen some horror stories because, how consumer today is, I think they're very entitled as well. And they feel the need to call out brands, and they feel the need to call out
Yes.
anything and make it into a big thing, right? I think so. For me, I've had anxiety attacks for the longest period of time. So even today, before I go to bed, I'm checking if the customer support has replied properly. I keep holding training every week, every
Oh man.
20 days. We're like, listen, we need to talk like this, and sorry is not going to hurt us, and so I think, yeah, I think because the customer is going to make you or break you, so it's very important to
True.
treat them with that kind of
Absolutely.
respect. Of course, we hold zero tolerance for people who are rude or abusive or any of that. But then, um, yeah, so uh, that's something I follow.
Perfect.
But
We'll
also,
we'll make sure we, yeah,
yeah,
we'll make sure we share the links, of course.
thank
But
you.
Boom.
awesome.
Yeah, no. Also, just everybody, if you enjoyed this conversation that we had with Pritesh and Megha, you can tell a friend that they would enjoy this as well, right? I mean, like, I think that would be helpful to them. It'll make you look smart because you heard a smart conversation which you're passing on to people too.
That,
But yeah, no, and also just a rating and review wherever you're listening to us, we'd appreciate that.
Yes,
Thanks a lot, guys. It's
absolutely.
been a
Thank
fun session with
thank
you guys today. It was great to relive the journey today with you guys. Thank you for making this happen.
Thank you guys so much.
No,
thank you so
thank you
much.
both. Thank you, Pritesh. Thank you, Megha, for sharing the journey, and of course, more power to you guys for doing what you do. It's it's hard, it's tough, but it's of course the results are amazing, and I'm sure you have you will get more consumer love given that you continue to do what you're doing. So, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for being here
It
and
means
sharing
a
your
lot to
journey.
us. Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
guys.
Yeah,
Thank you so
take
much.
care.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right.
I V M.